Daniel.
My name is Daniel Rourke.
Yeah, that's
Can you
good.
hear me?
Yeah, very good.
My name is Daniel Rourke. I am a former active duty United States Marine. I'm also a college student at LCC, and I live in a Conestoga hut in a church parking lot not far from here. I feel very blessed to have that.
I'm Kristen Brandt, and I think of myself as a human rights activist. I am looking for work, and I don't know what else to really say. I've just been spending a lot of time working with people without houses.
Hi, my name is Tracy Jocelyn. I like being here because I lived on Harris Street for 20 years. So this is my stomping ground. I'm living at Nightingale Health Sanctuary, being part of management.
Hello, I'm Nathan Showers. I'm part of Nightingale Health Sanctuary 2 and Steering Committee. Hopefully close. And, well, a lot of you probably know me. I've been around for a while, a little bit. I just want to help. So, yeah.
All right, back to you, Daniel. What problems have you had with shelter security? And well, you already told us what your current situation is, but just a little history.
Well, I've been at the mission on and off. I could only take that place for so long each time. I found that a lot of these organized places that want to help, and with all due respect to everybody here, a lot of these places are hardly Christ-like. I could elaborate even more, but I would actually prefer to be out on the street, sleeping under a bridge, or something like that.
How did your sleeping on the street begin? When? How long have you been?
On and off about 3 years. When I first got to work, I had a housing arrangement that ran its course. I had been here approximately 2 months, and I was literally the first time I was alone. And I was going to turn tail and run, but I chose to stay. And I'm glad I did. By the way, I don't really like the word homeless, because this is my home. Eugene, Oregon is my home. I am residentially challenged.
And Daniel, what were the first things that you learned about surviving on the street?
Actually, I guess a lot of people would answer this with how to get money or how to get food or whatever, but I found that just being nice to people and remembering their names really personalizes relationships. And I have hundreds and hundreds of allies and acquaintances on the street who are always glad to help me, and I'm always glad to help them. Before I was homeless, I never had anyone walk up to me and say, "Do you have any food?" Now I'd have people say, "Can I get some of those chips?" Or break that candy bar in half. But for someone to walk up to you and say, "You got any food?" And you look around and you say, "Okay guys, empty it all out." And everyone opens up their backpacks, and it doesn't matter what you have, that guy will eat it. So that's just survival on the street. I really enjoy helping people. That's what it is. I've received it back sevenfold, easily.
So relationships are like
They are.
first priority.
Well, it's very, very difficult to gain people's trust, and it's so easy to lose it just like that. And I truly value this. Street credibility out here is paramount.
Uh-huh. So what advice would you give to someone who was just evicted, just lost their home?
Watch your six. Hopefully you got some friends out there that you can count on. Try to couch surf as much as you can, I guess. But as far as the shelter, there's food everywhere, there's clothes everywhere. these people that I see out on the street that are all dressed in totally raggedy clothes, they do that as some kind of strange badge of honor. And I just want to look at these people and say, you know, come on, there's free clothes everywhere, you know. The shelter is the hard part in this area. In the wintertime, once you get wet, it's game over. It's game over. I mean, you're one cold, miserable person.
What are some of the things that can happen when you're wet?
Oh, hypothermia. I know a couple of people that have lost toes. And I don't even, this is temperate climate.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a really good friend named Billy Sterner. Hi, Billy. He lost a couple of toes a couple of years ago. There was alcohol involved, you know, false sense of warmth, exposure. Don't know what's happening until it's too late. But, yeah, the advice I would give to anybody is try to get back indoors as soon as possible and don't be acclimated to this lifestyle. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, and I feel completely blessed to have this Conestoga hut.
How did you get into this Conestoga?
It was because I knew people. There's a woman named Sue Sierra LeFay, and she is the herbalist at the Occupy Sunday Free Clinic at 8th and Oak. And we've gotten to know each other over the last few years, and she just walked up to me one day and said, would you be interested? Excuse me. And I thought about it, and I said, wait a minute, is it one of those crazy-ass, excuse me, sorry, villages? Because I need to get away from those people. And she said, no, it's in a church parking lot. And I was like, yes.
So I gather from some of the things you said that maintaining your personal dignity is real important to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't just blurt out that I'm homeless. It ends up becoming a subject. It repels people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll look at you differently.
Mm-hmm.
So today, what's the most important request for this audience to hear from you? What would you, if you could ask anything?
Be open-minded. Maybe a little more giving. I don't know what to say.
It's fine.
I don't know what to ask for because I don't like asking for myself for anything. Really, it's kind of like praying. I don't pray for myself.
If you were to ask for the homeless population in general, not just yourself, what would it be?
I don't know, maybe a few more charity feeds that are easy to get to. Seems like everyone is okay with finding some place to sleep at night, you know. I don't know. I really don't know.
That's fine. Why don't you pass the microphone to Tracy?
Sorry.
Oh, you did great. So Tracy, I know that from our previous conversations that you've had a lot of concern about women and children on the street. And before that, I ask you that, I want to just ask you what kinds of family, created families and self-government structures have been created that you've seen or been part of among homeless people?
What kind of what?
Daniel was talking about not wanting to be in a camp with other people, and I know that, for instance, Opportunity Village has its own council, but I also know there are people out on the street who call themselves street families. Have you had any experience with that?
Not necessarily my forte, the street families, but the Street Family Alliance was a group of kids, youth that came together and worked together during Occupy. And we all know that youth on the street usually aren't getting their needs met, so they head for the street and they create a family, and they make sure each other come home at night and have each other's backs in bigger ways than even I can imagine, because I was not on the street as a teen. Can't even imagine. Looking Glass helps with youth in this town. So that's just such a big question. Structures of family like at Nightingale, we weren't real gelled until, fascinatingly enough, somebody came on site that was high needs. And then you get to see the true people coming out. Like one guy fell down, he's pretty big and he gets stuck. So then it's not just me and Nathan, it's like if there's a man laying there and he's stuck, you don't go get somebody, you help the man. So we got to see people's true nature come out and be helpful. It changed everything. It's like, oh yeah, we are all the same. We're a family here.
Through crisis, then there are bonds, generosity comes out.
Yeah, for me, if there's a crisis, then I'm there. If there's no crisis, I'd rather be over there. But if there's a crisis, I'm like, how can I help? And then you bond with other people who are of that nature, like Kristen, Wayne, and you, and everybody. It's like, there's a crisis here. Oh, we all feel the same. Let's do something, and we are.
So are you staying at Nightingale?
Yes, I'm staying with Nathan. We have a platform and a tent with PVC structure and plastic over it, so it's our little home.
And have you been homeless for a length of time?
Yeah, unbelievably 8 years. And before that I was, couch surfing. But I'm a professional house cleaner and gardener, so I rarely sit idle, so it's really a tricky plank to walk of being so helpful, yet I'm just one person, so I could work for my survival. That kind of just ended quick, because you can only work so hard for people that let you stay at their house. Of what you usually get paid for, now you're doing it for rent exchange, then you gotta go work to earn your money. You gotta go live these folks' lives, and you still try to keep your own. It's not easy in any way, shape, or form. That's why I moved into my van. And then I found Nathan, so I found community. I wasn't really welcomed into any communities because I did have a child, so single people were kind of separated on the streets, because as a woman with a child, it appears I'm offered more services, and you kind of are when you're in a house. But when you're on the streets, we're kind of all single, and the life I'm living now, I don't see a lot of unhoused children. There's other people taking care of them.
So on that subject, how do single parents, women particularly, and their children find security once they're homeless?
I would hope they go to the top of any list, because there's so many demands in parenthood alone, at not having shelter. I was on Section 8 housing, and I got medical, and I got food stamps. And other than that, I worked self-employed in order to be there for my son. So I think I'm the product of being on assistance, where you're never really given enough, and you're always scrambling to just have enough and be all you can be for your kid. So I can't imagine having more than one child being on the streets. You just really need to reach out and ask for help, because you can't be that vulnerable and be a parent. It would just be the most nightmarish thing I could ever imagine.
So it's a very precarious situation
Yeah.
to be in. Do you feel that there's any local government or private organization that understands the needs of homeless?
I think there's many that try to help, but understanding the needs, every organization that helps you, there's kind of hoops to jump through. So maybe that's just because I'm a big spoiled brat or something, or that's how I was raised. But the service station is a good example. I mean, First Place, which is right up the road. It will help you. It'll help you do laundry and get clothes and food, but you kind of need to be on the straight and narrow. If you step off it, you get in trouble and risk losing your kids. So it's kind of high pressure to just not be in a home and meet your children's needs. You're out there in the public being scrutinized. And thankfully, society understands that women and single dads, that's just such a transformation. There are just as many single dads these days as single moms, bless their heart. And you just have to ask for help and keep assuring your kids. We met a guy at U of O speaking on a panel, and he didn't even know he was homeless because he was so cared for and nurtured, but sure enough, he lived in his car with his parents for a long time, and so it's kind of like hiding it from the kids and meeting their needs, making it look easy to them, because the last thing you want to do is burden your kids that, you know, you don't know where dinner's coming from. The dining room really helps. Food boxes and food pantries. Eugene's a very supportive place.
How do you keep going when the going gets tough? What do you fall back on?
If it's really tough, hopefully I can be by myself second and maybe listen to some music, which grounds me out, or be with friends, getting to know friends more that don't judge me if I do get upset. I'd say of the whole lot, I'm the most spoiled. Like, where's my white picket fence? You know, like
Yeah.
Prince Charming, you know, all that. I really did envision myself here, but I feel that it's great that I'm here in this situation after living in Eugene 30 years. Worked at the dining room in 2000 and met many homeless people. And that's where it gets really tricky. Who would you rather hang out with? People on the streets or the people talking about the video they watched last night? That's the bang my head against the wall part, because I really don't fit in 100% with either side, so I really feel like I have a foot in each culture. I'm still holding on a little bit to my foot in the housed culture or the working full-time culture. So that's where I beat myself up, is thinking about that too much. So maybe read a book when it gets too much. Maybe cook a nicer meal, or get out of my pickle and realize that I have it good and snap out of it and go help somebody if you're having a pity party. I guess I get mad at myself when I'm in the pity party, because we really are blessed.
So gratitude is really important to me. Yeah. Any requests you'd like to make for yourself or
Well,
for
when you
all
asked
homeless?
Daniel that, remembering being a single parent that's pretty much been in poverty the whole time, I always dreamed of starting a foundation, because it's just like paying for car insurance for 1 month. Like maybe a fund where single parents can call and say, I'm really having a hard time paying my phone bill this month, just to make it a little easier. Speaking as a parent that lived low income.
Yeah. A cushion.
And then when we were talking, it's like when I started going to lines for donations, like Salvation Army, going to Toys for Tots for Christmas, I would always lose it. And it would be at the point where you get a handmade hat or a blanket or a scarf, and you know grandma made that with all the love in her heart. I just bawl like a baby. every time it's just like, at one point I had to realize, oh, I get it, there's people that need in order for people to give. And so I kind of had to be one of those people that need, even though, like Daniel, it's really hard to ask for things because I'm staunchly independent. But go figure, I have to ask for help sometime.
Thank you. Nathan,
Hello.
how are you doing?
Doing okay.
So, what problems have you had with shelter security?
Me personally,
Yeah, hold it like that.
with shelter, I'm a Boy Scout. I'm a survivalist of many things. I actually lived in Salem before here 2 years ago. I actually start communities for the homeless in many different areas. Like Jay is a resident of Nightingale Health Sanctuary, and I've known him for 3.5 years, and I got him off a lot of bad drugs into our camp in Salem, and now he's here with us, and he's in the mental health behavior, system and stuff. I really, help more people than need help. Can we put it that way?
Yeah.
And like Daniel was saying, I pray for more people than I pray for myself, because I know, really don't like talking about this a lot, but I know I'm not leaving today or tomorrow. So what I'm going to do, if anybody wants to hurt me, it ain't going to hurt me bad enough to not help more people tomorrow. And on the streets it does get very, very bad. This town the nightlife of homeless people can be very scary. That's why I totally promote the 15 nights with the youth, because within 4 nights, it can be very bad for these people. And they're innocent people.
Do you want to say just a few examples?
Oh, man. I've had friends end up in hospitals from fights. Just in this town alone, just when Whoville closed down, all of us get put back on the streets, all the college kids decided to come and pick on the homeless and beat a few of them up, because they're living back in the alleyways and this and that. It's pretty sad. I mean, a lot of people don't see it, and a lot of people don't hear about it unless you're right there in the alleyway, unless you see the pain that somebody got from the punishment for just being homeless, I guess that's the wrong way to say it, a punishment.
Victimized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, yeah. See, I've never had a problem. People try to do that to me, and I usually win.
Now, what about, on the other hand, homeless people helping each other? Tracy has said a lot about that, and so has Daniel.
Yeah, helping making groups of people and communions and stuff is about the best way to live on the streets. You're going to be taken care of by many different kinds of people, like the dirty kids, the train hoppers. You think because they're dirty and they smoke and they cuss and they curse and their dogs haven't been washed in a while, that they're bad people. These people still have hearts. They're still compassionate. They still know the word love and what love is. Just because they don't wash their clothes don't mean they're bad people. And like Daniel said, they have names. We all have names. It doesn't hurt to ask us.
So did you have to go through any personal changes to live a life with very little money?
Oh, yeah. I went from a life, I've been homeless now 6 years. I had a nice cush job at a vineyard, lived at the vineyard, Madrona Hills Vineyard in Amity, Oregon. Awesome job. I found out me and my boss together weren't paying enough for my child support monthly for my 3 children. So I lost my driver's license. When you lose your driver's license in a vineyard, it's a big thing. So me and my second wife went out on the streets. We ended up in Seattle for a while, Astoria, Portland. It was very hard. I went from making $14.95 an hour to making nothing, And even with the servant's pay that he gave me, that only lasted 2-3 months, Next thing you know, we lose the vehicle from no insurance. it gets really rough. I have luck. I go hit a dumpster and you'd be amazed what I can find in one dumpster. I hit 10 dumpsters, it's too much for me, and I easy come, easy go. I gift a lot of people things that they need that I just happen to find. I'm blessed in ways, but at the same time, if I was really blessed, I'd be helping 2,000 people right now instead of just 30. I hate to look bad at myself.
Well, I get the impression that it isn't just you that's generous among homeless people, that you see a lot of that.
I see a lot of it.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed.
What request would you make of this audience?
This audience?
You want to think about it?
To help individuals individually. Face-to-face time is better than even phone time. You know, to drive up to somebody on the street corner and give them $1 or 50 cents or a sandwich, which a sandwich is always awesome, by the way. You know, it would be better sometimes. When I flew signs in Salem, like people would actually stop and come and talk to me, and found out I was actually a pretty awesome person, and actually I had a few people that would pick me up on certain days a week, and I was like their therapist. They just need somebody to talk to, you know?
So you're a good listener.
I love it.
Thank you. All right, we need to move along here to Kristen. And then I know we're getting close to noon. So Kristen, what are the biggest barriers to getting access to community resources that you see?
Biggest barriers to getting access to community resources. Most of them are downtown, so if people don't live close to downtown, it's hard to get to those places, and there's like so many meals that you can go to, and you know, you have to be on a certain day at a certain time kind of thing. So if you don't ride a bike or take the bus for whatever reason, it's a long walk sometimes if you don't live right in town. So I think that's...
And what are the needs of local homeless people that are not being met? You know, I hear transportation is one of them.
Right. Although, I mean, not how you provide transportation just for homeless people. I mean, transportation, everybody complains about the transportation in this town. For some reason, it seems like. I mean, what was the question again?
Well, what needs are not being met?
Oh, right.
Well, the big ones.
I guess, I mean, I don't know. One that it seems most important to me is that there's a lot of help out there for people who need it. But like Tracy said, there's either hoops to jump through or it's just availing yourself of those services sort of reduces your own autonomy over your life, I guess. And people would think, oh, that guy on the corner with the sign probably, you know, he's living a life of freedom. He can do whatever he wants any day or something like that. But I think there's a certain place that you have to put yourself in, I guess, or that you're in psychologically, that not all of the services are without judgment, I suppose. I think that's the biggest problem.
Mm-hmm. I forgot to ask you, what's your housing security situation?
Well, I'm fortunate to be living in an apartment with my mother. It's only because we're sharing the rent that I can afford to do that, having lost my job last August, and my unemployment ran out. So if it weren't for her, I very likely could be, you know, out on the streets. And I lived in an RV for many years before I moved in with my mom. So I didn't consider myself homeless, but other people did, and I think it was definitely a different kind of shelter. And I've had uncertain housing most of my adult life when I had kids and stuff.
So now you at least have a mailing address.
I do. Well, yeah, I did before when I parked my RV.
Had a post office box.
I had a post office box for quite a while, yeah. I used the neighbor's mailbox or something.
And do you feel like anxious about your role in helping others who are homeless? Does that cause you some anxiety?
Well, it causes me anxiety when, you know, myself and others try to hook people up with things they need, and sometimes we aren't able to. And so, for whatever reason, that's frustrating. But I don't know, I don't get too anxious about it. I like it. Helping people.
You've been involved a lot with the unsanctioned camps.
Yeah, it's been about 7 months now that we have sort of a core group. We started out before the winter site opened with a whole bunch of people, and now we're down to maybe 10. A few coming in and out once in a while, but
Is that a big demand on your time?
huge. It was sort of ironic that I lost my job at the time when that was going to be starting, and I really found that what I wanted to do the most was just try for the winter to relieve suffering. There's a lot of suffering that just goes on, and it doesn't matter why anybody's in that position. If somebody's cold and wet, they need to be warm and dry, you know, and that was just where I started with it.
I'm going to open this up. Do people have questions they'd like to ask these panelists?
I'd like to know how you manage your money, what money you have. Do you save it, do you put it somewhere, or is there an informal way to talk to each other, get a job?
Okay.
Do they meet somewhere, get jobs? This is somebody, I don't understand that process very well.
Okay, I'm just going to repeat the question so everybody can hear it, which is, how do you manage your money even though it's a very small amount or irregular amount? Anybody?
I guess I'll go. A lot of the homeless people work through the temp agencies that they have in town. They get paid on a daily basis, so if they're very, very undisciplined, they at least have cash in their pocket every day. So that's about the bottom of it right there. You got a couple of us out there that are able to hold on to a little bit of money, or maybe invest it, or just forget about having it for a while. Other than that, when one of us has money in our pocket, it's usually
Gone quickly.
pretty quick.
Yeah. Kristen?
I just wanted to say that I think the way people without homes manage when they don't have enough money is kind of the same way that everybody does in a way. You have to identify how you can get what you need, and if there's an, you know, I mean, if there's any way you can trade things with or whatever, but I mean, even people in houses don't have enough money, and it's not that different. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things is that it's not the homeless. Every single homeless person is completely different, just like everyone in this room is. And there's not that easy of a way to say, oh, here, we'll do this one thing and it's going to help everybody. So I kind of went on with it.
The question was about the connection between abundance of services, funding cuts, and waiting lists. Here, I think this microphone would be better.
Well, I've been helping in the poverty community for a long time. I'm a retired social worker, and I volunteer at First Christian Church. And I know hundreds of people who are considered homeless. These are some of the brightest and most helpful that you could find in the whole community. And they may find access to services more easily. But there's a lot of people who've been homeless since they dropped out of school, and or are so addicted they can't find their way across the street, much less to a service. And many of the services don't like these people, don't even allow them in. There are people excluded from the mission and from
The dining room?
yeah, in the dining room, yes, right.
The service.
And
Service station too.
There are literally hundreds of unserved places. There are wonderful St. Penny's, First Place. They're all wonderful. They'll tell you their waiting lists are incredibly long, years sometimes, for people. And you know, you don't have 10 minutes if you've got 2 kids in your car. And to me, I think the biggest problem is someone who's just dropping out of the working class or the middle class because they lost their job. And shortly after losing their job, they lost their house, whether it was rental or paid for. You know, there were 5 million foreclosures last year in America. It's a disgusting situation where we've allowed people to get so poor. And there's just no place to go. No place to go. The really good people just don't have enough services, and they'll all tell you that if you ask.
6. One of the things that I would love to see people do is to meet one-on-one with someone that's out there on the streets and be their advocate. It's not that hard to do. Take them to the different agencies around town. Help them walk through the Social Security system. It's amazing what can be done with someone who can speak the language, who can mentor the person. I personally have mentored, I don't know, a dozen people or more, and successfully helped them.
We might need to set you up as a mentor of mentors.
I would love to do that, because it is not that difficult. I think some people are fearful of it.
Yeah.
Both the person looking for services and the person trying to help that person.
Did you all hear that in the back? What she's suggesting is that we do some one-on-one relationships and do some mentoring, however that's possible for us.
I personally, I'm 38 years old. I've lived here my whole life. I was homeless on the street as a child for 8 years, and we did a lot of couch surfing. And I worked really hard in my life to be residentially secure. And it's hard to understand the plight of our fellow human beings until you go out into the street and talk to them and break bread with them, and they're just like you and I think it's really important for everyone in this room to understand that. And I honestly love everybody that I meet. We serve 400 people every Saturday, and it's a grassroots.
What's the name of that group?
Food Love Rainbow Incorporated.
Food Love Rainbow. Yeah, there's actually 4 or 5 of these kind of ad hoc groups.
Mm-hmm.
There's Burrito Brigade, Badass Feeding Frenzy, and
Not bombs.
Food Not Bombs.
And we do our best. It's easy if you have something that you might have too much of, heaven forbid. Any of us are willing to take that out to these people, and I've watched so many success stories.
Being roused in the middle of the night by a cop just because you're trying to sleep is pretty horrible. And actually getting up in the morning when it's cold is horrible. That's why you see a lot of these people miss the Sunday breakfast when it's really, really cold, is because they don't want to get out of their sleeping bags. But yes, I understand what she's talking about. There could be designated places, but the whole problem is that there's always that 10% that ruins it for everyone else, wherever you go. And so somewhere in that group of people that you're going to be in is going to be somebody that makes a really, really stupid decision, and it affects everybody else. And that's just the example that the authoritative group in town sees things as. And that, like I said, they ruin it for everybody. But other than that, I really have never had that much problem with trying to sleep. But I know a lot of people who have been arrested. I know quite a few people that are on drugs, and they just stay up all night and sleep during the day. Because that's legal. You're allowed to be in a park from 6 a.m. till noon. So it's legal to sleep during the day. So a lot of people have just reverted into becoming night dopeheads. And it's sad, but it's true.
I had heard at a conference or something that I was at that a lot of the teens end up seeking out meth because it's dangerous to go to sleep. And it kind of made me think differently about that drug, which is so horrible. But, You know, if you were out and you were afraid to go to sleep because something might happen to you, you'd have a big incentive for doing anything you could to stay up. So that really compelled me in a lot of ways. But everybody in here probably has had not enough sleep, and that you know how it messes up your ability to do anything. And the other thing related to that is just a secure place to have your things, even if you don't have a lot of possessions, to carry them around with you everywhere and constantly have to worry if somebody's going to steal it, or, you know, just the most basic things that no one would even benefit from usually, but it's yours and it's all you have kind of thing. So that goes with the whole right to just be in the world, and everyone has the right to that.
I think you go out actually looking for people that are not in the legal sanctioned camps, but are...
We do legal sanctioned camps, but we started Food Love for the kids that use Hosea, but it grew from 40 to 60 staff lunches to 400 plus in less than a year. And we do go out, and anybody that looks like they just need someone to talk to, basically is how we approach it.
What's your estimate of the number of unhoused in, let's say, the immediate area? Because we know the point in time count only catches some of them.
In this immediate, we serve from West 11th to Autzen Stadium, and we easily serve 400 people on a Saturday, just in that vicinity. In this immediate vicinity, I'd say 100. My daughter said 100, probably 100.
You mean in the neighborhood of this church?
Oh, in the neighborhood of this church, 25 maybe? 30, I would say. Yeah.
What happens when people become homeless? They're usually rejected from their home, from their job, from their school, from their friends, and within days or weeks, they have a severe mental condition of depression, anger, all those kind of things plague them. The longer they're out, the worse it gets. You know, they quickly get to a point where they think there isn't any help. There's no place I can go in God's earth to get help. And in the extreme weather, we see people coming into our breakfast saying over and over again, they hope the weather will kill them. They want to die. They don't know how to go on.
Yeah.
And
so, Jerry, let me
I
ask
think it's
you
irresponsible when we let people get in that condition.
do you think anybody has even tried to create self-help groups to deal with depression among the homeless? I've read online about this being done in Uganda for women that were victims of war and had lost everything, and it helped a lot.
Yeah, I think we can do a lot with that. I think Red and Tracy do some of that. For instance, they take care of Susie. I don't know how many of you saw the newspaper article about Susie that said she wouldn't make it through the winter.
Right.
And that meant if she was alone, she would not make it through the winter. And she has made it through the winter, and that's because Red and Tracy and people like that are taking care of her, showing her some concern. She tends to overuse drugs, and that's the way she takes care of her PTSD, and she also is probably mentally ill on top of that. But she's been out there for 30, 40, 50 years in the community alone, and she just turned 65, and she's really shouldn't be alone anymore. And there's a lot of people like
Yeah,
that.
what I'm gathering is that there's a tremendous acceleration downhill as soon as you leave some sort of permanent shelter.
That kind of goes along with my question is, if you are addicted and you're on the streets or using, where do you go for help? How do you get shelter using addicted?
Yeah, is there anything that...
That's a good question to ask in a church. Because it's the biggest bummer of them all. It's like, okay, society, these people are using drugs we're all scared of, but they're still humans and we're still compassionate people. And boy, where are the treatment programs? That's totally where energy needs to go to. Whoa.
There's a lot of people that refuse help, absolutely refuse help. And there's quite a few people that are completely gone because of dope. It's just completely, just permanently affected them.
But they still deserve a warm place to
Sleep.
sleep.
You asked earlier about the number of people. I think Angie addressed that they feed 400 people. We go out on Thursday nights at Ask Feeding Frenzy, and we actually prepare a complete hot meal and keep it hot in coolers and take it around. And we serve, the last few weeks we've been serving, yeah, it's a little bit weird keeping it hot in a cooler, but it works. We start out on West 11th and feed just a few people out that way. And then we come back into town and we do a minimum of 125, 150 most recent weeks. And we could do so many more, but we've run out of food. So I have no clue what that number is, but it's huge.
We need support. I mean, we are, as feeding groups, I mean, there's at least 1,700 people in our area that are homeless and need food and shelter and clothing, and the least that we can do is feed them. We need support. I have had the hardest time getting more support, like online and things like that. We are blessed that we can feed 400 plus people without having to get any, like, use our own money anymore. But we still need support. I mean, we need kitchen spaces, we need all those things. And I mean, to be honest with you, I teach 40 hours a week and I volunteer 25 hours a week. I'm exhausted and I need help, plain and simple. And I'm welcoming any help and I just don't know how to get it.
Okay, I want to bring this to a close, and would our panelists stand up and take a bow?